Sex workers versus virgins? Oh, this is incredible. What? When did they make this? This was somewhat recent. Bro, that's crazy. That's insane, bro. Okay. Can sex workers and virgins see eye to eye? Oh, dude, this is incredible. Let's do it.
I remember when I had my very first escort session, I had this background feeling that I was gonna feel like gross. And then I remember like I went through the session and I left and I was walking down the street with like a couple $1,000s in my pockets. And I was like, who exploited who here?
Okay.
Step forward if you agree.
Okay.
I judge the other side.
I mean, I just judge everybody, so sure. I mean, like, why haven't you guys gotten any punani? And then what happened in your life to make you feel like you need to go down this path, you know? I feel like most people who engage in sex work are people who felt like they didn't have other options. Though they probably chose people that, because there are people who would choose it. You know, people who are maybe very sex positive. That's my criticism, though, is I feel like a lot of people choose it because they feel like there's nothing else, or they get somewhat to some extent groomed into doing it. Like on TikTok, how many girls are making it OnlyFans now? They're like, I can't wait to hit 18 so I could do this. And it's like, you know, being objectified for money is not like, which is kind of what it is, man. You know, there was a time where I did like a lot of twerking videos and people loved it, but it made me feel weird. It made me feel a little objectified, like on TikTok. And I get a lot of views, but, you know, it's just bizarre. I don't know. But let's go.
It's hard for me to reconcile, unfortunately, like sex work as like noble or something that it's necessary for society.
Totally understand.
That's an interesting question. But the necessity of sex work is a very interesting question. Because, like, I think it's a very interesting question. Because I think nowadays we are trending away from traditional like marriage scenarios where people are like, okay, not even like traditional in the sense of like one man, one woman, but just like in general, people getting married. And I think it can be hard for like some men that may be less attractive or less desirable in some capacity to find a partner. And for men not being able to find a partner, they turn into like some of them can become like disgusting animals, honestly, that might go out and like harm somebody. And it doesn't make it okay. That's not good. But if they had the ability to seek a sex worker and, you know, just get it out, that might actually have a positive impact on society. You know? I know it's a weird way to look at it, but like there actually might be potentially necessary. I mean, I think that the offshoot to that could be potentially being like trending towards objectifying women, because it's like if you could just get it, if you could just pay fucking $100 or whatever for it, then like who gives a shit? You know, you might as well not even have kids. But it's interesting. Also, could be like a spread of STDs, though. I think that if we legalize it, you would probably like put something in there where everybody had to get checked and whatnot. What's up? So, it's just interesting to think about.
But also, one of the oldest professions is sex work. One of the things that almost every human does in the world is sex. So the idea that we actually do this remote,
Not these three.
isn't too far out of the ordinary. You know, my dad was a pastor. So it's like,
Somebody said sex work is the oldest work and will always be around. Legalizing it only causes more violent black market sex to occur. That's true. I mean, that is true. There is an association with legalized sex for that to happen. Yeah, true.
understand, I didn't grow up in an idea where like sex work was okay, but I did grow up in an idea where it's like, I want to learn, I want to experiment. And one of the things I wanted to always learn about was what my body does. So like what made you decide, what put you in a place where you decided, is it religious? Or
Yeah, so it's definitely a Jesus.
I think people who are virgins, what makes them not want to have sex is like either that nobody wants to have sex with them, or they just don't want to clean their private parts. They probably stink, you know? That's my going theory, you know?
Jesus thing. Like, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and so I totally believe that that part of me is something to be shared intimately with the person I'm choosing to spend my life with.
Can I ask the disagreeers to step forward?
I don't judge you. I just don't understand why you would give people access to your body in that manner, which opens you.
I'm wondering why she chose to wear just a bra. Genuine question. It's confusing. Like, did they ask her to look like a sex worker, or did she decide to go there and go? Because this isn't like a tube top or whatever you call it. This is legit just a bra. Did she get there and feel like sexualizing herself more? Maybe she's using it as a good OnlyFans plug. Which, by the way, smart idea actually. I just wonder why. I don't know.
You up to so many more risks with like STDs, pregnancies, all that stuff. I could not do that. That is not me.
Okay, here's a good example for that. It's
Okay.
like my other job is doing stunts. I light
Oh, you just want to die anyway, so.
myself on fire. Is there a risk to that?
Yes.
But it is an educated risk because I know exactly what I'm doing and I know how long to burn and I know what's going on. Same thing with sex work. These are all educated risks that we take.
That is our job, our body.
I feel like sex work is safer for men. So it's like, it's a different perspective. And you guys can cry about double standards all you want, but it's the truth. Like there is a fundamental, like general power dynamics between men and women where like men are typically stronger and in like situations where like they could defend themselves in a better capacity. Doesn't mean all men can. I understand that there's a nuance to it. But like I think the male versus female sex worker perspective is very different. Like you would generally expect a male prostitute to probably not be in as much danger as like a female prostitute. So it's just like I think it's like a bit of a different perspective.
Is what we use for our job, so we take care of it. We get tested, we take care of our health. You know, we are very, very adamant about that.
But I just cannot get on board with our bodies being a product all the time.
But isn't that how
Somebody said most male sex workers have male clients. First and foremost, can you actually, first of all, can you verify that? Second of all, male to male, like power dynamic wise, is more equal than a man and a woman. So it's still, my point is like still there. Like you're probably more protected as a male doing sex work than a female. I'm not saying that there's no issue there. Just saying, generally speaking, it's the truth. Like we can't come to the understanding that like men are, we have to come to these, like a lot of men. It's what's so funny though is that like the men who would disagree, like that's a double standard, are the same men or boys that would talk about how like we're so much stronger than women, right? Like they're the same ones who make sure that every time a woman speaks, they know that like that they're less than in their eyes, right? Men are stronger than women generally, which means that that's an actual power dynamic. So like it does exist, man. That's why I shut up.
every job is? When I was working in retail, my body was a product. I'm lifting heavy things. I'm working in, weird, nasty work conditions. I'm getting injured. Like every job I've had has required physical labor of my time and body, and I'm required to be there.
We all sell our body, just depends on what part.
I suppose.
I mean, but sexual selling is very different from what I do, which is like working as a nurse in a hospital.
But you're selling your time, your physical ability, your knowledge, and your emotion, because that job is very draining on your mental health. We're doing the
Oh, that's true, I guess.
same thing, except we're just showing nudity and pleasure.
I guess so. I feel like, and I don't think that they do this on purpose, but like I feel like where's like the people that are engaged in sex work that don't have control over their sex work? The people that they tend to bring on, like sex workers, tend to have a lot of control over themselves and over like their own work. Like they seem to be like the ones that are like doing OnlyFans, or they're like professional escorts that are protected and they feel comfortable in their environment. Whereas like there's so many people who are like basically forced into it. They might actually be forced, or they may have they may not have any other choice because of an economic reason. And I feel like we don't see those people. We see very like sex positive and positive sex worker scenarios pushed here, which is fine. But we don't see like the negative side, which I would argue these are a general decent representation of most people who are engaged in sex work. Not that it would be easy to get like some like a fucking sex worker who is being abused by a pimp or something, but you get my point.
I'm Nathan Bronson.
I just think it makes it so that we don't have the right conversation about sex work. And like I know sex work is becoming pushed into the forefront more, and I know a lot of people usually like, yeah, sex work good, but like, we don't look at the negatives of it a lot because people are like, no, don't shame me. And it's like, I'm not trying to shame you, but I would like to have an honest conversation.
I'm 32.
I just don't think that most sex workers would be making these points in these way.
A sex worker, and almost 100% of that is doing porn.
That's true. No pimped people would not be honest if they were allowed to come to the show. That's fair.
When I was younger, I had girls tell me I was very terrible in bed and I had a small penis. I wanted a challenge. I always like doing things that not a lot of people can do. I want to be able to prove that I can.
Damn, a lot of girls would say that? Shit.
Do it.
I mean, I know all the girls I've been with think it, but damn, for them to say it to you? Damn, bro.
So that's why I got it.
Sex work can make the world a better place.
Maybe it can. We talked about it. I don't know. I just think that there's there's positives and negatives. Like I was saying before, maybe it'll give some like men who can't find like a sexual partner an outlet for their aggression. Honestly, and maybe it'll help people that have disabilities that can't find sexual partners be able to like and honestly, we don't talk about that enough. Be able to actually get their shit out. But then also, there's an association with legal sex work and like legal prostitution and like drug or sex cartels and like human trafficking and stuff. Even in like the legal brothels, like you could still force somebody to become like a sex worker. So I don't know. I guess you'd have to leverage the positives and negatives. I personally don't know how I feel. I'm not a particular fan of it though. I probably overall wouldn't allow it, but that's just me.
I'm a prostitute, and I've had so many clients. I had one guy whose wife had died, and he had only been with her his whole life.
Wow, what a loser.
And she had just died like a year
kidding.
ago,
That's
and
terrible.
he was like, I don't know how to date again. He didn't want to get into the emotional part where he was like interwoven with a new person. And so as baby steps, like he came and saw me as an escort. Or there was another guy who was dying of cancer, and he was like, I'm not in a position where I can get laid on my own. And I don't want to die without experiencing intimacy with another person. And I got to be that for him. And just like last year, I looked him up and I found his obituary. Those encounters are what make...
You were his obituary. You know what I'm saying? You were one of his obituaries. Or like I call them if I can't even say ohoaries. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like one of his hoes. You understood the joke.
The job valuable to me, because this is not just like a casual physical experience, right? Like you're touching somebody's soul, and I am so thankful to have been allowed the opportunity to help the men that I've helped like that.
Sometimes I get the feeling that we save lives. Someone having a bad day, a man might want to be a little violent, but instead, he goes to the strip club, or he watches a little porn, or he, spends time with a provider, and that brings him down and it levels him out, and he gets that intimacy that he's missing. You
know what's interesting though as well? Because I was talking about like sex work potentially like what would you say, like de-escalating aggressive men who can't find sex and like having them get an outlet for their aggression. What I find interesting, and this is my experience with pornography, and I think it's a general experience, is like pornography has desensitized me away from normal and regular sex. And I feel like the problem, and I talk about this a lot, but the problem is back in the day, you might find your dad's nudie magazine, and then you jerk off to some titties. It's not really that big of a deal. Now we don't have dads. No. Now we have the internet, and so like it really is like a big direct pipeline where it's like, okay, you find pornography on the internet, you find boobies, and then all of a sudden you can like get into violent sex very easily. You can find it very easily, and at a young age, watching violent sex, like you're not only are you desensitizing yourself from like boobies and vaginas, and now like you need a lot more stimulation to actually get aroused. But I think that pornography teaches inappropriate interactions. Pornography teaches men that women want aggressive sex even when they say no, and it teaches women to deal with aggressive sex even if they don't want it. So, then you have not only somebody who can't find somebody to have sex with, but that person is also desensitized from normal sex and they want more violent sex. And then like, honestly, like rape becomes more acceptable in their brains. I think that's a reasonable speculation. So like the acceptability of pornography might also be like a negative aspect, or at the very least the accessibility of it to children is a really bad thing. Like you shouldn't have access to it until I mean honestly at least 18, but like really like probably you shouldn't look at porn until you're like 25 plus. And I'm not saying that, I know that people are still going to look at it because I mean like I looked at it when I was younger. But your brain really doesn't finish developing until you're 25. So it's not a good thing to be like just charging into your brain. And that's not even talking about the unrealistic expectations that are set for like women and men as well. It's probably worse for women, but like every man is like self-conscious about the penis size, and because you're comparing yourself to a fucking 10-incher, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have a small wiener. But most women actually don't prefer bigger penises. That's not me just coping because I have a small penis. That's like a real thing. Like I know that's a meme, but we don't really understand that. But then it also teaches women like maybe they all want bigger penises because now they look at this and then they see a big wiener in porn. They're like, that's what I want, when they may not actually want that, but they've been conditioned to want that, you know?
I have a suspicion that we save marriages. Like, I saw so many husbands who were like, my wife hasn't touched me in 6, 10, 15, 20 years. And like, I need sexual outlet. And like the fact that they can get it with an escort, like preserves the marriage. Otherwise they would leave the wife and the house and the kids and everything would explode. It's like I
don't know if I agree with that. I feel like we need to have better conversations about like, honestly normalize people getting divorces that aren't in happy relationships. I've talked about this before. I think that if you're unhappy with your wife, if it's just like a sex thing, I get it, whatever. But like if you're fundamentally unhappy with your wife or your husband, like it might be time to actually get a divorce, even if you have kids. People always, like I've mentioned this before, because kids can pick up on the negative energy that the parents are displaying, and then it teaches their kids to accept and even seek out negative attention with other potential partners when they get older. It teaches that pattern, because that's what happens. You're learning if your mother and father have a toxic relationship. Well, toxic relationships become normalized. Now all of a sudden you get another partner and like, oh, look at this, like this is okay. Like the clear warning signs of like this is bad, they kind of dissipate because like you think that that's okay. It's like, oh, we're fighting a lot. Well, that's okay. My parents did too. And so you're teaching people inappropriate interactions with their partners, which is ultimately not going to allow them to be happy. A lot of people talk about they'll counter that. They'll say, Poppy, you're an idiot. It's so funny how confident people are. They'll say, did you know that like when they will compare like single motherhood to this? They'll say like, Papa, you're wrong, because statistics say that like single parents, if a kid is raised by a single parent, they have a much lower success rate than with two parents, with both parents, right? With both of those with both of those parents. And it's like, I'm not advocate. This is not what I'm saying. A single parent isn't somebody who got divorced necessarily. I mean, it is, or never had a spouse. This is somebody that both spouses or both parents aren't in the picture. There's a middle ground here. Where it's like, okay, we get a divorce. Yeah, we got divorced, but like there's still, both parents are still there. You can get divorced and still be a good mother and father. And that's what I'm talking about more than anything else. Is like, okay, they might get a divorce, but both parents are still very active in their lives, and they can amicably like raise a kid together. Because in my opinion, I think that when these parents stay together and they're very toxic, like I said, it teaches their kids to be more toxic, and then accept relationships they shouldn't accept, which will ultimately lead to their relationship imploding, because they weren't happy in the first place, but they put up with things because they learned toxic traits from their parents forcibly staying together. Okay, that's like the whole thing that I'm talking about. So,
controlled release.
I got thoughts.
Okay, so I did want to address the idea that you said that you having sex with a husband saved the marriage. I don't believe that's even possible. How can adultery save a marriage?
Like, my perception is that this is like an inadequate Band-Aid to cover a wound that doesn't have another way to heal. And so I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying, yeah, you're correct in your criticism. I would not like to be in a marriage where this was happening without my knowledge. But like, I do suspect that the alternative is the destruction of the marriage.
I'm gonna share something. So I looked at porn when I was in 8th grade, and just kind of hearing, it's crazy, I'm getting like a frustration, because I'm like, oh man, because it really put me down a bad spiral. And I just started thinking about myself. I started thinking about women really inappropriately. It's because like porn puts this idea in our mind, and kind of scares us. I think it scares guys away from actually talking to women, actually.
Yeah, I also want to like validate
Maybe.
the fact that pornography like can cause these effects in people. Like some people watch porn and they have like a really negative reaction, or like it causes you
Too many got banned off of what? Off of Twitch?
to feel like this objectification of women that you don't want to experience. And I think it's like really important to like acknowledge that and be like, yeah, maybe some people just shouldn't watch porn. Like maybe it's bad for them.
I was watching an interview the other day with Angela White, another porn star, and she said this thing that just blew my mind, where she was like, you know, we don't watch Fast and the Furious to learn how to drive. We don't watch porn to learn how to have sex and intimacy. Porn is entertainment.
That's so hard though, because so many people watch it. If that's the avenue they go toward.
Yeah, but people watch it and they get like they will use it as an educational reference, not actively per se, but in like a passive sense. Like, you know, it's people don't have this like very profound, mature perspective of pornography, especially young people. They're not like, oh, this is just for entertainment. But I know this is how real life works. But it's like, people don't really believe that. So they'll watch it in like this way. That's like very negative.
That's what they're going to learn from, and then they're
But
going
again,
down a bad
now
path.
you're still splitting that path of like, because we're having sex on camera, it is entertainment.
What would be your solution to be like, if you do have those unsuspecting audiences, like is there an advisory? Is there something that says?
No, because it doesn't matter what you do, people are going to find it. Now, what I think, better education, better parents, better teaching, because when it really comes down to it, me doing this job and being chastised for doing something that as an adult that I want to do and I want to strive to do better is a completely different thing.
I'm Rudy. I'm a virgin. And I
Oh fuck, Joe Bartolozzi is for Joe rating me. You always rate me during like the weirdest times, bro.
Shrooms Express just resubscribed.
Hey,
for
thank you so
7
much for the
months.
sub, brother. Holy shit. John, every time, like last time we were looking at OnlyFans farting, and today we're watching sex
Was
workers
just resubscribed
versus
for 9
virgins.
months.
Thank you so much for the subs. We were watching Can Sex Workers and Virgins See Eye to Eye, so that's very funny. What's up, Joe?
Tarakan tipped
Jesus
$20.
Christ.
Thanks for the entertaining and educational content.
Hey, thank you so
I
much,
wish
brother.
YouTube would get their stuff together so that I didn't have to understand how Twitch/FB videos work in order to get my papa, mama when she joins you. Fix. I'm old.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. Goddamn Joe Raid. What's up, Joe? How's it going, man? What were you guys doing? Were you guys looking at Joe jerk off or something? Or were you watching fucking, what are you guys doing? You probably make a killing on streaming live on Pornhub, Joe. So, just saying, bro. Just saying, dude. Okay, let's keep watching this video.
I believe sex is a beautiful thing that God made for two people. I view
Not the way I do it, bro.
the sex industry as something very taboo and full of people who may or may not have had a different choice or thought of a different option to
True.
provide themselves a better life.
God cares about our sex lives.
Oh, I mean, I hope not. That motherfucker be watching some dirty shit, though. Sorry if I forgot, calling God a motherfucker, guys. Cancel me.
I believe that God created sex. Like, we are all sexual beings. I mean, unless you're asexual, I guess. But sharing that with one person for the rest of my life, like, that is so appealing to me, because then I feel like I can like give my fullest self to them, and I would hope that they want to do the same with me.
I feel like God is involved. And that's why people.
Yo, you think that Jake is here to date one of these two girls? He's like, shit, I'm a virgin. Let me try to marry one of these people. You know what I'm saying? I feel like just waiting until you get married to have sex for the first time can be kind of toxic, because how many dudes do you think are like, bro, I have to get married to the first fucking woman who'll put up with me because I need to get bust a nut. You know what I'm saying?
People thought I was crazy when I said, yeah, I wouldn't be actually praying on my first time. People thought I was crazy. But there's emotion, there's so much more than just action.
Okay.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
I used to be very Christian. I was homeschooled.
Girl, same.
Homeschooled. Yeah. My dad's a professional evangelical debater who has a radio
Like
show
an
and writes
apologist?
books. Yes.
Who is that? Is that how she got this job? Because her dad was a fucking big boy?
He's a Christian apologist. Yeah, I was raised, no kissing, don't hold hands. I was like, till
Shit.
marriage.
Me
like,
too,
passed
bro.
away.
Don't even look at the person until you're married, honestly.
But there was a sense of like this sexual act is really
Don't we miss the old days where like they would just pair you with somebody? You're like, you're gonna marry this person, and then like they would exchange like cows and grain or some bullshit. That's what we need to go back to. Don't let me have the choice. You know what I'm saying? Force kids to get married at like 13 and then figure it out. You know what I mean? I think those were much better times. I'm just kidding.
elevated. Like a lot of it from my frame is that we're like sort of participating in a social ritual where we all like give this act like a huge amount of power, which is like not my deal, but I really resonate with like the strength that can hold.
So I also grew up Catholic and, grew up in my Catholic shame bubble. I would masturbate and then cry myself to sleep and be like, God hates me and I'm going to hell.
I do the same fucking thing, bro. I just don't think about God after when I'm crying, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man. I just kind of opened my eyes to the world and was like, you know what? People are out here raping, they're out here murdering, they're out here doing some crazy ass shit, and this world is fucking awful. I don't think God is down, looking down on the world and seeing all that and going, God damn it, Avery sucking a dick again, like another check, like she's gone, I'm like, no.
Are you at all worried that by creating porn and all that stuff is feeding into a very real addiction that a lot of men suffer with?
So the difference there is with like the mainstream porn that I do, yeah, it can be hella skeezy. They give you skeezy, storylines and stepmom this and step this, and it gets real skeezy.
Bro, isn't that crazy? It's interesting because I think you have to stay step parent because like promoting actual incest I think is illegal. But you know what people are looking at when you say, oh, it's stepmom porn, like they're thinking about fucking their mom or something weird,
Then when you take it to the other side of the porn, I can put out the product that I want to. I can help educate people. I can put out ethical porn. Because
what is educating? Educate people in what? I think I'm gonna need education. Let me see, where can I find your pornography, ma'am?
I'm making it.
Link the hub.
My name is Avery. I am 27 years old, and I am a sex worker. It's weird because I grew up super, super religious, and used to give chastity talks at church and chastise my friends for being sexual. But I actually find that I'm not as bitter towards my religion anymore since I started this work, because somehow it's kind of reconnecting me to it in a way. Just seeing that and hearing from people that I'm putting good out into the world, and I'm making the world a better place, and I'm making people feel joy and happiness.
I've had trouble in romantic relationships.
I mean, come on. You've had trouble.
Does not do sex work, she's only slept with, I think, 13 people, right?
That's gross. Only? I mean, like, that's fine. I don't care if a woman has a higher body count. He's just like, I only fucked 13 people. That's a lot, bro. That's so weird. I don't think I could be with somebody who does porn. I think it would fuck me up too much. You know what I'm saying?
Which to me, that's...
He's like, that's so little. For me, that's a lot.
I mean, before I got into the industry, I was over 100 something. So it's a crazy number to me. It's always a very strange thing trying to keep this relationship going in that sense of like what I do. Because even it's just the egos, and she has to see me with younger women all the time, and it sometimes hurts her, but it's like just a lot of communication.
For me, I am currently in a relationship, and the guy I'm dating, he is actually not a Christian. So I had to have that conversation with him beforehand, like that because of my religious beliefs, I'm not going to have sex until marriage. He's not.
I wonder if she's okay with like hand stuff. You know what I mean?
Not only honored it, but he supported it. But it does make it difficult because it's like I want to make him happy, he wants to make me happy, and that struggle of like, I guess, fighting against our flesh is going to be a little harder. I don't want anyone to see my naked body until they're my husband.
Oh, he hasn't seen you naked?
No.
Oh, really? Wow.
Wow.
Sorry, being naked is just such I just...
What if she has a penis? You know what I mean? You got to figure it out. Because then if you find out she's a penis, then you're like, okay, let's get married sooner. You know what I mean?
Walk around naked. It doesn't... How long have you guys been dating?
It's been a few months.
You're like 3, 4?
Yeah, around that.
Good for you, girl. Keep that on lock.
A lot of people think that we are anti-sex or not sex positive. I don't think that's true at all. I know that I'm a very sexual person. I cannot wait to explore that sexual side of myself.
You probably wouldn't feel like you couldn't wait if you just did it. You know what I'm saying?
With my husband, but that is something that I want to restrict to just one person. And
what if it's terrible?
That's how I want
what if you fuck the guy and it's just like, wow, this is trash? You know what I'm saying? What would you do then? Hey, thank you so much for the sub.
Pack_skills.
What would you do then?
Just subscribe.
Don't send me the links of the fucking porn star girl, bro. What the fuck? What are you doing? What? You fucking, did you just seriously send porn in my thing? You're like, yeah, let me, I mean, I appreciate you finding it like a fucking detective, but you sent me porn on Twitter, bro. I have a horrible habit of like just copying and like pasting the links I get without checking them. So this is gonna be bad, bro.
To explore that sexual side of me.
All of a sudden, a big fucking cock is gonna be on my screen. I'm gonna get banned. I guess I did ask. For shame on me, bro.
I don't have a romantic issue with my virginity because they kind of they admire kind of what I do. Or
thankfully, people can't see links in the chat because I have them banned, so it only goes directly to me.
My self-control, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
Restraint is hot.
Huh?
Restraint is
Question: have you had women who definitely not virgins, maybe not even Christian, come after you because they know you're a virgin? They're trying to steal that card.
Yeah.
And how hard do they push?
Really?
pretty hard.
I've never been in a circumstance where
Okay.
I had somebody I wanted to date who did not want to date me because of my job ever.
I mean, who's gonna say that that never happened? The girls that he's making up, you know what I mean? They don't exist. So
Really?
Ever. Because the kind of filters I have in place, like by the time we get to the point where I want to date them, like if they've passed all the other criteria that I have, by that point, all of them are just totally fine with sex work. I don't like people who are possessive at all. I'm very polyamorous. In the normal world is that people don't date each other because of sex work, but that's just not the reality I live.
but I thought a shame, bro. People who are poly are so weird. And I tried polyamory for a while. It wasn't for me. But everybody who does it pretty much, I mean, not so much this person. They always have fucking like weird hair, like fucked up teeth or something. I'm sorry. It's just, I feel like there's more people being poly nowadays as like a response to, like I was poly for a while and I thought that I was actually polyamorous, but I was really just doing it because I wasn't happy in my original relationship, and neither was my ex. But we did it to like keep us together. Like I remember at one point she was like, "Yeah, I'm not really attracted to guys that look like you. I'm attracted to like Justin Bieber types." And I didn't take it offensively, but like that's like, and then I finally, once I got out of it, I'm exponentially happier. Like I realized that I was just subsidizing our relationship,
See, that's my reality. I have a hard time with romantic relationships because, I'm a sex worker, and not only am I a sex worker, but outside of work, I self-identify as a whore. Like, I just like to have sex, and I like to experience as many people as possible. And when I do find someone that I'm interested in for romantic relationships, that's the package deal. I tell them, like, look, I want to be with you, and I want to be in a relationship with you, and I care about you a lot. But I also need to be a slut and have sex with people who aren't you.
It's so interesting because like for everybody, like I have like similar urges, man. Like I'm a fucking guy where like I want to fucking. It's more about like the conquest, I guess, but I want to sow my seed. But like I've been restricting that because I'm married and I haven't been happier than I am now. So it's so weird. Like I feel like, and I'm sure there are people who need it, but like I feel like maybe there are some instances, maybe most people would do better if they did kind of contain, like get it out. I'm 31. Get it out. And then get married and settle down. Like the urges don't go away. You just learn to handle them and you understand that like, yeah, these urges exist. You get it. But there's also like a lot of positives as well to like, I'm just saying.
Sometimes I've tried dating like other porn performers. And, even that gets murky because even with our jobs, jealousy is still a thing. So, I'll be dating a porn star who knows that I'm a porn star. And then they hit me with hey, babe, I think like maybe you should just start doing like content with girls. Yeah, just do girl. And like maybe threesomes with me and other girls. And like that's it. And change your brand. And I'm like, so you started this romantic relationship with me knowing exactly what the is down, like who I am, what I do, what I'm about. And you thought that, let me just like wait a few months and then I can like change. You're like, okay.
I don't think that that's what happens. I think people actually try and think that they can do it. And then they realize that like, oh, I'm falling for somebody. And the more that you fall for somebody, the more possessive you will generally get. And then they'll be like, oh, can we change the dynamic? Because like, I love you and I want to change it. And then she's like, no, this is who I am, which is totally fine. But I don't think it's like this insidious plot where it's like, oh, I'm going to find this porn star. And then I'm going to be like, in like a couple of months after she's getting dicked down every week by a different guy, in a few months, that's when I'm going to grab her. No, I think it's more like, yeah, I think I'm okay with it. And they probably engage with other girls as well. So like, oh, this works for both of us. But then they might be like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this,
Great. I enjoy masturbation.
It's all right. Damn, we got the honest one. Why doesn't this guy enjoy masturbation? Bro. Why wouldn't you, dude? Like I like it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not always trying to put on a show. Sometimes I like to just sit in bed and relax, and I do it myself. Just kind of enjoy the moment, enjoy the moment. It's a Jane Sijanova joke, sorry. And just like, oof, But and I, you know what I mean? Like it's a different. Like you get to chill and do your thing. I'm just saying, bro.
Girl. Do you feel guilty?
I think in the beginning, because I didn't know what I was doing and like what I felt about it, the problem is like the Bible doesn't say anything about masturbation. So you're always like,
really?
This is the world of gray. And then.
But religion says something about masturbation. So like, does your religion say anything about masturbation? Nothing?
It's more about like generalized sexual immorality. So I didn't feel like masturbation was immoral of me. Like I felt like, oh, this is just me getting to know my body and what I like and then hopefully pass it along to a great guy.
Yeah, I remember when I was Christian and I was trying to figure out if I should masturbate. I would like consult the Bible quite a lot. I would like.
I know she was trans, bro. She used to be Christian. Shit.
Google, like, is it okay to masturbate for women? And there was no resources for women at all. It was like men have to control their lusts, and I felt like a crazy pervert because I'm like,
men probably do have to control their lusts.
I have all these urges that women apparently don't have. I ended up deciding that, okay, lust is a sin, but the masturbation itself isn't. So that if I engaged in the physical act without like having any sort of mental process going on, then that would be okay by God.
I'm surprised that you.
Oh, I got answers. I got answers. One of the things is because I have to save my load to use at work, which is a little graphic, but that's really what it is. So one of the things I have to do, because I'm doing 2 scenes a day, so I can't jerk off. I can barely have sex with my fiance most of the time because I'm doing the job. I'd much rather take that time, go give pleasure to someone else and actually see that look on someone's face that I gave them an experience.
That sounds fucking miserable. This guy's like, he's like, I'm working so much and I can't. That's horrible. That's probably ruined sex with him in general. Bro, I feel like he's not being honest. Like, I feel like that is what he's saying, but like he probably ruined sex for him. Like my mom used to work at White Castle. She stopped liking White Castle, bro. You smell it all day. That's what is happening. That's fucked.
I would totally.
Yeah, his fiance's definitely suffering, especially since she has a high body count. She's probably a little bit more sexually like involved, which is not with no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. He's probably not even satisfying her. I wonder how long that marriage will last. We should follow his story.
Totally disagree with the idea that masturbation isn't sin. I feel like there's something that happens. I don't know. Like it's just so hard to explain.
I'm curious.
So
I want to ask like what.
Bro, what? That's is that? Are you saying that to me? You look like a 45-year-old weirdo, but at the same time, a 26-year-old father that has the warmest hugs on the planet, not meant in a bad way. I feel like that might be meant. It feels like that might have been a little meant in a bad way, bro. I'm 31. I guess thank you. What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
What is it like to you about touching your own body, that and making yourself feel that type of pleasure? What makes that a sin?
But it's like with me, I just see that God is so high and mighty that like the reason why maybe I keep on messing up, because there's moments of I'm sexting, I'm doing things, and you're like, what? How would you do that? But the thing is,
he's sexting. The Bible probably doesn't allow that, bro. The Bible can't allow that, dude.
It's like, yeah, I mean, and the thing is understanding that like I'm not God, but also understanding that like I want to be more Christ-like. Yeah.
Do you masturbate?
Hey, thank you so much for the sub, brother.
Just subscribed.
Yes, I have, yes.
Do you do it regularly?
I guess just so you guys know, since you're here, if you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Prime sub every month. You can either get it to myself or Joe. You put Prime, exclamation point Prime in my chat, allows you to utilize that sub, or exclamation point sub if you're on mobile. But you could also use it for Joe Bart since he rated you, or rated me. So just letting you know, you can use your free Prime subs.
There's moments where it's probably once a month.
Oh.
What do you guys do when you feel those impure thoughts and you think about it and you want to masturbate because that's your direct correlation to what you're doing?
Probably just put the washing machine on or the dryer on and just sit on it. Let God do the work.
I call a friend and kind of like, because the thing is,
You got a friend like that?
Do you tell your friends why you're calling them? Or do you just call for distraction?
I call, well, it's calling, kind of be like, hey, this is happening right now. I need some prayer because this could get bad. This could be bad because it's like it's really unhealthy. It's very unhealthy of me.
And if you're
Bro, that's insane. If my friend ever called me, he's like, yo, bro, I'm horny. Hey, bro, I'm really horny. I don't want to masturbate. Can I talk to you on the phone? Oh, no. That's fucking weird, bro. Imagine, though, because you know what happens with that? All of a sudden, you call the same friend like once, twice, 3 times a week. Hey, I'm horny. All of a sudden, you just start getting horny for the friend. You associate the horniness with the phone call. That ain't my friend anymore. You know what I'm saying, dude? That's fucking gross. Thank you so much for the sub.
Subscribed.
in a good church community, you have prayer warriors, and that
I guess maybe if you were or a sex addict, that makes sense.
helps immensely, no matter what you may be struggling with.
Being a virgin has shaped me in a way of separating myself from the rest of the pack. So I stopped watching porn based off of a flick that I watched. That just made me just stop completely.
What was
I
it?
like intimacy, and I've realized that porn doesn't give me the intimacy that I'm searching for.
Okay, that's fair.
The sex industry is sexist.
Probably.
The sex divide is way different in our industry. Women get paid a lot more.
It's actually, the sex industry is one of, I think it's...
Well, I wouldn't consider that sexist. That's not really sexism. That's just kind of supply and demand. You know what I mean? It's not really, I would consider it sexist more because it's like objectifying women. Not so, and also like the beauty standards tend to be placed on women more. Like there are still beauty like big wiener standards for men, but like everybody, most men in porn they have a big dick and they're very muscular. So like it exists there as well. But I mean, bro, like that ain't sexist. Just because there is a pay gap doesn't mean that it's fundamentally sexist. I'm not going to get into a whole conversation about the gender pay gap, like in general society, where it's like 80% on the dollar. Obviously, once you adjust for different factors like hours worked, job performed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that gap that shortens to like 98, 99%. I'm not going to get into that, but like this is you. I mean, you should have just chose to be a female porn star, bro, instead of a male one. You know what I'm saying? You get paid more. That's what I tell women. They're like, oh my god. That women always tell me, they're like, "Hey, I feel like I don't get paid as much as men," and I say, "Well, then stop choosing female doctor or female lawyer. Like, choose a fucking real job, like a male doctor or a male lawyer. Like, it's just like, grow up."
One of like 2 industries in the world where women make more than men. Everyone's objectified, kind of, because the men y'all are reduced to your penises. No one even really knows who the men are, but I know so many people who recognize penises. You know, we have to cater to these fantasies for fans, and there are sadly a lot of. It's a broad reflection of how the world is, and out in the broad world. There's a lot of men who want to see women get beat and had sex with brutally and just brutally taken, and that's what they want.
That's where I'm thinking the sex industry is sexist, because women in general in the different aspects of the sex industry, I feel like are viewed as less than.
They are, and for me, the one turnaround of it though.
I'm not agreeing that it should be. I'm just agreeing that it exists.
Is where we take our power back. We enjoy filling out those fantasies and those role plays to take power over it. The other night I was having sex with a man, and he's like having sex with me, and he puts his foot on my face and is like stepping on me while he's having sex with me. And you see your face. My face, I was in heaven. I was there like trying to lick his feet, and I was just like, this is hot to me.
Well, that's weird that it got so open. But like, how is that taking your power back? Because you enjoy like abusive sex doesn't mean that you're taking power back. It just means that you're engaging in abusive sex. How is that taking your power back? If anything, like you can make an argument that like porn grooms. I did it before. Porn basically grooms people into like having like fucking violent porn or violent sexual engagements. You just another victim of that. I was saying like it has an interpretation on men to make them think that like women wanted aggressive, and women to make it seem like men wanted aggressive. They need to have it. Like yeah, that's not, what the fuck.
Because I get to explore this in a safe manner that is controlled by me.
Okay.
Like, of course porn is designed for men. It's not because like we don't like women. It's because men are visually stimulated and like way more likely to spend money on porn. This doesn't feel like an issue to me. This feels just like the natural like way that we are. Like I
think the fundamental argument of this is just the way that people are is not great. It doesn't mean things aren't sexist. You know what I mean? Like I could be like, yeah, men are stronger than women. It's just the way things are. I don't think that women should have access to being able to do fucking physical jobs because women just can't handle it. That would be generally sexist. I mean, jobs are designed. We need jobs, and then if you can fulfill the job regardless of your gender or whatever sex or anything, that's all that really matters. Even if there's like a higher, if the men are a higher chance of them being in physical labor jobs. You know what I'm saying?
When I had my very first escort session where I had sex with my first man for money, going into it, I was super nervous because I'm like, I had this background feeling that I was going to feel like gross or like violated or exploited in some way, like a little bit of a fear. And I don't think any of them are trans. It would have been a good thing to bring to like get trans representation in here, or even gay representation. Like they should have had like more people, maybe like 8 to 10 people, because I feel like that would have been a good idea to get a little bit of a broader spectrum of interpretation. Like I went through the session and I left, and I was walking down the street with like a couple $1,000s in my pocket because I charge very high rates, and I was like, who exploited who here? Like,
actually, it's who exploited whom, idiot. Why don't you go back to school, you fucking moron? I'm just fucking busting. I mean, that is actually how you're supposed to say that, or is it who exploited whom? But
I feel incredible, and I remember feeling
respect.
I remember feeling like angry at society. I was like, why did they tell me this would feel bad? I feel so good. And it's like, at that point, it's like, I don't know, when we talk about like sexism in the industry, you could very easily argue it goes the opposite way.
I mean, you could argue that the only reason that you made a lot of money is because you're attractive, and that less attractive people don't make as much money.
Very conservative culture that expected me to become a housewife. But it turned out to be that I was a sex worker instead. I got to like escape that sort of life where I was working minimum wage jobs with not a lot of prospects.
See, that's what I said. She went into it because of an economic reason, and then what a lot of times she makes a lot of money, so good for her. But a lot of times, what happens is that when people make a choice that they feel like they can't retract from, they are more likely to appreciate that choice. It's a psychological process. If you have the ability to go back on a choice that you make, you're less likely to be comfortable with that choice. That's just part of it. People will they'll rationalize why this thing is better, right? So when you can, when it seems when the only economically viable thing to do is to have sex for money, and you can't reverse that decision and go to something else that you could still live a livable wage on, that's like more practical for whatever your skill set is, you're more likely to be like, yeah, I'm a porn star and it's great and I make money and it's all fun. But if there was an alternative solution to that, it's like even if she didn't make as much, but she made enough to like be happy and live like a fulfilling life, I guarantee you she wouldn't be as happy with the decision. That's one of my problems with like porn is like or the sex industry is really a problem I have with society and like the the way our economy operates and whatnot is that it pushes you into a particular direction. Like you do it out of necessity most of the time, and then you're like, yeah, this is great because like I have no other option. But if you did, you wouldn't think it was as great.
Not supportive of my professional choices. I'm definitely performing an immoral action in their eyes. I'm degrading myself and my sexuality in their eyes. I associate it very strongly with freedom, like being able to have access to a lot of different choices to make a lot of money that I never would have had the opportunity to have before.
All sex work should be legalized in America.
I don't know, bro. We were talking about that before. I'm not sure if that would be a good or a bad thing. There are so many. Like I did on the positive side, like it allows people like in a sexual outlet to get their nut on, mostly men, so that they don't commit like horrible atrocities. On the negative side, there's a heavy association with like trafficking through legal, like actual sex trafficking through legal, like sex. What am I saying? Prostitution.
That I never would have had the opportunity to have before.
All sex work.
Also, yeah, they say all sex work. So even like I'm fine with like OnlyFans, whatever, but all sex work, yeah, no, I don't think that I'm fine with that. I don't know, man. It's a lot to think about. It would have to be heavily structured, but yeah.
Should be legalized in America.
From all the statistics I know of, like, let's say Australia, and this is from just the...
What did I tell you, though? What did I tell you, though? I said in the beginning of this that there's definitely a different dynamic for a male porn star than a woman, especially when it comes to safety. Because even if a man is sleeping with another man, they feel more safe than a woman sleeping with a man. Because generally speaking, like men do have a physical power dynamic over women, and it makes them feel less safe. So like then you got the guy like, hey, we should legalize all sex work. Well, why? Like because from his perspective, everything is great. He doesn't really have to sit there and constantly think about like, would this be potentially dangerous for me to do? And so that's where that comes from him. And he's like, yeah, I've seen this, that, and the other thing, So
the knowledge I've learned from that, apparently sex work has actually decriminalized a lot of places. So if you legalize...
sex work is decriminalized? 2020 research on migration, sex work, and trafficking showed that in Australia, improved legal migration pathways, the decriminalization of the sex industry, and improved access to information and supporting for migrant sex workers are the key to reducing heavier forms of labor exploitation, including humanity and trafficking. So I think that people need to understand that decriminalization of the sex industry does not mean the legalization of prostitution. Those are two different things. They are absolutely not the same, right? Legalizing the sex industry, legalizing like all forms of sex work is not the same. Decriminalization for prostitutes is a very positive thing, right? You make prostitution illegal, but you decriminalize the prostitutes because they're usually, like we were talking about before, people who are forced into that particular pathway because they have no other options. So rather than like constantly locking up people who have no alternatives, this is a better way to go. Providing some form of support for prostitutes to be able to maybe get out of that situation, things along those lines, that makes perfect sense. But that's not the same as legalizing. And I don't think that he understands that these are not the same thing. So, yeah.
All sex work?
It's more like it's illegal to buy, right? So like the guy fucking doing it, it's more illegal for them.
You kind of take away that human want in making it so it's just available if you want it. And also, if you make it available just like prostitution, making that available, you have to make people go through screening. You have to make people get tested. So everyone's going to STDs might even go down.
Doubtful.
There's a difference between decriminalizing.
I mean, it'd be great. In an ideal world, it'd be great to have legal prostitution. And then you get tested, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't see it happening in like a safe way that's reasonably going to happen. It's probably going to lead to more STDs, probably more unwanted pregnancies, probably more issues. So
legalizing sex work and legalizing it. Legalizing it means obviously the government's going to be into it. They're going to be able to set up health regulations, which can definitely help sex workers. Decriminalizing it just means that you as a sex worker cannot be arrested for what you do.
Yeah. See, well, this woman's smart. Maybe I'll date her. I can't do that. I'm married. Making sure my wife didn't hear what I said.
I personally don't believe that
I should've closed
legalizing
the
it is
door.
beneficial, because even in those countries where it is legalized, it correlates to higher rates of sex trafficking. I know I'm not. Yes. And I would have thought that it wouldn't.
Countries with legalized prostitution are associated with higher human trafficking inflows than country where prostitution is prohibited. That's from Harvard Law. That's what they put at the bottom. I appreciate that. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, just like when they'll usually when they'll move products illegally, they'll do it through like a means that's moving other products legally. You know what I mean? So
Wouldn't have been that way, because otherwise I would have agreed with you. I would have said yes, it should be legalized, because then we can have all these regulations in place to make it safer for sex workers.
But see, if you had a governmental body going through, just like if you went to a restaurant, there's an A on the door saying like food handlers, right? Then it would be, this is a building that is regulated. We have people coming through to make sure everyone coming through gets tested this many times, and you coming in, you have to be tested the day before to actually get checked in.
I guess that.
yeah, but like not for nothing, how many prostitutes that are currently prostituting themselves would instantly be disqualified with those markers and those standards because they already have STDs? It's a very idealistic perspective, but like I think in practice it's not going to work.
Assumption is based on if everyone who is in sex work would go the legal route, because not everyone
True.
would when there's government like.
That's true as well. Like that's one of the criticisms of like legalized marijuana is that legalizing marijuana makes it more difficult, because if you legalize marijuana, you still have to sell in a legal capacity. You have to actually sell correctly. There's still standards you have to adhere to, but it makes it more difficult to find people selling illegally, because since like that's having the product on you just in and of itself isn't illegal, like how do you know if somebody's selling or not? You know, so that's would be the same argument here, is how do you know it's illegal? Now that it's more acceptable, people aren't really seeking it out, and it's like more difficult to catch the illegal aspects of it.
Involvement. What does that mean? Taxes. Not everyone wants to have taxes. That's why in New Zealand it's decriminalized.
He's talking about a health inspector. Anyone who's worked in a restaurant knows it's easy to clean up for 2 days. That's true. Also, imagine like a fucking health inspector, get a pussy inspector just walking around. Excuse me, man, let me see your vagina. And then just taking a look at it. That would be fucking weird.
But there are no regulations to keep anyone in that whole situation safe.
I was just on the disagree side because I don't think it should be legalized. I think it should be decriminalized. I don't want the government anywhere near sex work. I don't want the government controlling it, taxing it, making it to where they.
What do you mean you don't want the government taxing it? They're already taxing it. What are you talking about? This woman doesn't pay her fucking taxes. She's like, I don't want the government taxing sex work. If you're a porn star, that's legal. Because for whatever reason, it's only legal to do porn, to get paid for sex if you film it on camera. But you're a legal porn star. What the fuck are you talking about? You should be paying taxes. Is she just not paying taxes? What the fuck are you? What the fuck? What the hell? She's like, I don't want them to be taxing me. What? What do you get, tips? That's fucking weird.
Legalize it, but they're still going to put loopholes around that puts us in even more danger. I also think sex work should be decriminalized, because as long as it's criminalized, we're at the mercy of the cops, and the cops are the biggest threat to female sex workers specifically. Almost every female sex worker I know who's had an encounter with the cops has been raped by the cops.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't doubt it, but that's a hell of a claim. Sex is the ultimate form of intimacy. I don't know.
Is the ultimate form of intimacy.
Let's define intimacy real quick.
Whenever I do.
See, close familiarity or friendship, closeness. For closeness, yeah, I think that sex is the ultimate like of intimacy, because like that's the closest that you can get, is to have sex with somebody. And then also, if you do it without a condom, which you shouldn't be doing unless you found the one and you're trying for a baby, there's also like pheromones and like hormones or whatever that just get like distributed and you fall in love more. You know what I'm saying? Like once you fucking blast in a girl, you guys fall in love. That's all. That's what it takes. You know.
Have sex that first time. I just don't want anyone else other than my husband to ever see me in that vulnerable state. It's too precious to me, and how can you get more, at least physically intimate than that? You can get more emotionally intimate, I'm sure, but
yeah, that intimacy with someone else. And it's crazy because we're waiting for that, you know? We're waiting for that and wondering what that's going to be like.
Friendship is the definition of intimacy. I got to talk to my homies real quick. Yeah, for sure.
As a nurse, I've seen, 94-year-olds in the hospital, and just like the intimate relationship that they've had with their spouse still carries forward. Like, people who are quadriplegic, people who no longer can speak, who are more nonverbal, just seeing the dedication day after day with like their visitors, their family members coming in. It's just really nice to see that you can have a circle of different types of intimacy with companionship and the trusting relationship and the physical part of it. Intimacy is moments in time, moments between people. I've had intimate moments. Like, I don't know.
I'm just gonna time you guys out because you're arguing. So like, I'm just gonna time you guys out so that you can chill in the chat.
one with you today. Now, was it the most intimate thing I've ever done? No. So I think those moments where you're there with someone willing to die for that person is way more intimate than anything we can find sexually, because sex is something that's going to happen when you guys start. Is ever done? No. So I think moments like I didn't know one with you today. Now, was it the most intimate thing I've ever done? No. So I think
what? He filmed porn with her today? What?
Intimacy is moments in time, moments between people.
What?
I've had intimate moments like I didn't know one with you today. Now, was it the most intimate thing I've ever done? No.
Did they fuck? They fucked before? What's happening here? Did they have sex for fun in the back, or did they film a porn together? What the fuck?
So I think those moments where you're there with someone willing.
Bro, is that nepotism? Did she get him the spot on this? I'm so confused.
To die for that person is way more intimate than anything we can find sexually, because sex is something that's going to happen when you guys start having.
I just disagree. I think that you've devalued sex so much you just don't think it's a big deal, but most people do.
Sex and start being in there with your partner. You know, it's like you want that to last forever. You want that moment, but it's not the thing you would die for. You know, God, you would die for God. That's an intimate thing. That sexual moment is not. You would die for her for other reasons, not for sex.
That was good.
Bye.
Okay, that's interesting. Nice vibe. What a great video. That was something else, I'll tell you that. All right, I gotta go hang out with my wife now.